You're about to listen to a highlight from The Last Word with Matt Cooper. You can listen back to any of our shows from the last 5 days in full through the media player on the Today FM website or through the Today FM Android and iPhone apps.
The Last Word on Today FM.
With Irish Life.
It's time for the Guinness Rugby conversation, and I'm delighted today we're joined by one of the great wingers of Irish rugby in the last decade, Shane Horgan, and also by one of the greats of French rugby, twice Grand Slam winner, multiple championship winners. So thank you very much, Serge Betsen, for joining us here today as well. Shane, I'm going to start with you because a couple of weeks ago we had Neil Francis in here before the Ireland-Scotland match with Scott Hastings. Neil had never been on an Irish team to beat Scotland. How many times did you manage to beat France?
I know, this is a horror show for me. I can't believe I turned up today. I've never beaten France, and not only have I never beaten them, I've taken some really good hidings. And we were doing a bit of research before we came in, and I fully blocked one defeat out of my mind. I couldn't believe that I'd been beaten on a team 44-5, but I've got the match report here, and it doesn't make for beautiful reading, I can tell you.
Do you feature in the match report?
I'm
in the team sheet
I'm not. I'm in the team sheet, and that's it. And but the man beside me here, he features in it. It was a pretty good day for him. I think he scored 2 tries.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah, definitely. It was a really pleasant game for France team, and also the first Grand Slam for the Six Nations. And I remember for sure the fact that we played the last game on the Six Nations in the Stade de France, and we had a decent game, and really pleased to score this try as a winger.
He ran around me a couple of times, I'm sure, or that'll be the story anyway.
Yeah.
But of course, when it comes to playing against Ireland, do France expect to win? Is it one of the games each year that you really expect, unless it's a very good Irish team, you expect to win?
But it's always challenging to play against Ireland, and remember the first appearances of O'Driscoll winning in Stade de France is one of the big memory where we take for granted that Ireland team is really respectful, and we have to make sure that we're going to stick together to win against them. And always a challenge to play against this team, and always difficult because of weather, because of the spirit, and all these things put us a really good battle.
I think you're being nice to us because you're here in Dublin today, given how many times you beat Irish teams.
To be fair, our Irish people really love France, and we also love Irish people, and we even on the pitch is really tough. It's really difficult, but outside the pitch is really good banter, and we really like each other.
They mightn't have expected to win, but they certainly didn't expect to lose. I think that was sort of the case. But we always did have good nights afterwards, because especially in Paris, because the dinners afterwards were fantastic in these beautiful, old hotels in Paris. And I always remember, especially with Serge, because you would see him after the game, and he would have his tuxedo on, and he didn't look that big. You think he looks like a normal.
That was my surprise today when he came into the studio.
And when you play on the pitch, and he has a jersey on, and he looked like twice the size of the man, and when he was hunting you down and grabbing you, and maybe it was just the aggression levels, but we used to go and we'd see him afterwards, and we'd be having a drink at the reception, and we'd be like, that's not Serge Betsen, that must be his brother.
What size are you?
Not that big. That like Shane said, I'm really tiny guy, and it's just about I don't know 1 foot 0. So on meters 182.
Yeah. Exactly. Shane, could it be that it's a bit like the New Zealand All Blacks, that when you see French players, or when Irish internationals see French, they look bigger than they actually are, that there's an inferiority complex when Irish teams play against France?
I don't know if it was every Frenchman, but it was certainly with Serge. Honestly, we remember remarking about it, whether we played against them against Wasps or against Biarritz or against France. We'd always go, like, Serge looks so massive on the field, and he was such a destructive player. And then you go in and see him afterwards in the bar, you go, oh, well, he doesn't look that bad, I'd take him.
But there's another listener who's texted in a very interesting point, that Irish provinces don't fear playing against French teams. They don't fear going to France to play against French teams. They certainly don't fear French teams coming to Dublin or coming to Limerick or coming to Ravenhill. So why is it that the Irish national team has such a poor record against France?
I think it took a long time to break down the fear that Irish provinces did have, and I know it was a huge problem for us in Leinster when I was playing there, and very often it was Biarritz that were beating us. We could not win in France, and it took us such a long time. And actually, once we cracked it, and once Munster cracked it, and remember, it's only Ulster had only ever had their first win in the Heineken Cup in French soil this year. So, it took a while to get it, and it was the familiarity of playing the teams, constantly, every year. You play them a couple of times. You might play a couple of French teams a couple of times. And that coupled with the fact that there were very strong Irish teams going out there. Now, I think there was a period maybe in the noughties where we felt we could compete with France, but the statistics don't lie. We never really competed with them very well at a national level.
Yeah, but again, at national level it was difficult, but at the club level, I remember also play against Munster on the final of Heineken Cup in Cardiff in 2006, and the year before we played the semi-final in Saint Sebastian against Leinster. Against Munster too. Then the true thing is in the province level there was better size and better consistent team, and those final in Heineken Cup in Cardiff was one of the bad period for Biarritz team and my team, because
Serge, for some of us it was one of the best days we could ever remember.
Yeah, definitely. And I always think that this team destroy. They didn't destroy, but they made enough effort to bring the trophy back home, and it's one of my bad moment for Biarritz and for my team, and unfortunately I didn't win the Heineken Cup trophy, but it seems to be a really good side of province team, good organization, but again, when you go from the national team, you need more.
I think what
potential.
you see is the French are playing in a French league. It was top 14 professional clubs, and actually there's a league below that is pretty much professional as well. That's a huge group of players and group of French players playing at a professional level, and a huge group of players to pick from. Whereas in actual fact, in Ireland, we're really picking from 4 teams.
Well, indeed, and of course we do take a lot of interest in the top 14 here, but there'll be extra interest from next season when Johnny Sexton goes to play in Paris. So what do you expect of his ability to deal with? Will it be a major change for him?
It will be a major change. I think he's picked a good club to go to, and I wouldn't have said that this year, but I think he's picked a good club to go to next year. There's huge changes in place in Racing. They've 2 very successful and well thought of coaches coming into the club. They've recruited really well, and I think the key for them, much like it was the keystone for Leinster, is going to be Johnny Sexton. The role that he plays as 10, but the type of person that he is, he's going to contribute so much, not just on the pitch as a 10 and pulling the strings, but tactically and technically off the pitch. He's going to have a huge hand in how they play, how they perform, how they train. He's a winner, and he's somebody who will want and demand the best out of everyone. So I think Racing have got, not just have they got an on-field leader, they've got someone who's going to change the club.
And yet, Serge,
did he speak French or?
I know he did French at school, but
Okay.
And I know the type of guy that Johnny is. He'll have French by the time he turns up there in September. There's no doubt about it.
In fact, we want to know how long has he been learning the French for?
Yeah, that might be a different question altogether. That might reveal something else. Yeah, it's funny. He didn't hang around on Monday nights after training. He used to shoot off. Had to say go to a French school.
Serge, can I ask you though about Johnny Sexton going to play in France, because there have been some complaints, despite the top 14 teams and the teams in the level below, that there are not enough French players in key positions playing, and that this is hurting the national team.
Yeah, definitely. It is another example where a key player in the key team of French top 14 is going to be an overseas players. Then it's good for him, because he's going to bring such intense experience from Irish rugby. But again, it's part of where some of young lads, young French player can be in this position. But fair play for him. I think that to take experience from player like him, or to take player experience from the player. When I used to play in Biarritz, we get Glenn Osborne or Frano Botica, who came abroad and give me as a young player a lot of experience to develop my skills. Is also the good things for French rugby. Then we need to find the balance between this and the club-wise and the national team.
And I think you're right, because that was the same for Johnny, in fact, and for a lot of players in Leinster, because when we recruited guys like Felipe Contepome and Rocky, if you see, they had a direct impact on the players that were coming below them, and the younger guys, which Felipe had a massive role in Johnny's career.
And isn't it the irony, the injury that he got that day in Croke Park for Leinster opened the door for Johnny Sexton?
Yeah, but I think that was something that was coming anyway. I don't think Felipe was going to be around forever. Now, certainly he was probably going to be around till the end of that season, but that was certainly coming through, much in the same way as Shawnee O'Brien came through off the back of someone like Rocky. So, there is a real... I think you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater in these issues, because top-class internationals, if you get them really, really top guys in the club, they bring on other players.
Okay, listener says, Connacht was actually the first Irish team to win in France under Warren Gatland. It's a long time back. We're going to discuss the form of both teams in the Six Nations and what we can expect from next Saturday's game in the Guinness Rugby conversation when we come back after this short break. Shane Horgan and Serge Betsen are with us for our Guinness Rugby conversation. Serge, there's an awful lot of conversation and misgivings in Ireland about the performance of the Irish team, and we feel we've been doing very badly since the game against Wales. But we haven't lost our first 3 games as France has. Now, after the performances in November, what has gone wrong with the French team?
But a lot of problems are there relating on top 14, because the week before the Six Nations started, the championships played, and Philippe Saint-André get 3 players who get injured. The fullback Vincent Clerc, Brice Dulin, the fullback, who were really brilliant for the November to get injured, and from there they got 4 days to prepare the game for against Italy, and the problem start there, and I think this part of the Six Nations make it really tough for the French team. They didn't start with the passion. They didn't start with the fact that they want to dominate the Six Nations. They didn't seem to look at units. Then they lost 3 games in a row, and on this weekend, I hope they're going to change their mind.
You're making the sort of excuses that we make in Ireland as well about injuries and not enough time to prepare, which is interesting to hear that France did the same thing.
It's true because now a team like Italy, they've got enough time to prepare. They improve their rugby, and they show us. Then we have to get the mindset of professionalism is the key.
But from the outside, it appears to many that Philippe Saint-André is doing much the same as Livamont did before him, and has made some crazy selection decisions, keeps moving players into the wrong positions, can't make up his mind as to who he wants in certain positions. How fair is that perception?
But it's the answer of getting, like I said, it's not excuses, but getting Dulin, who was really good fullback, and Vincent Clerc, who was really good at winger. It didn't have any other solution to put UG at fullback, and you can in this such a high level, you can avoid that player who are good at certain time. Then you have to change them to be a fullback like UG, and also one of the mistakes he made in my view is Fofana, to put it as winger. When you see the powerful, the skills, the fitness as he showed at Twickenham, you can avoid to put him as winger. Then I think also on the front row.
What about the? I would have said like the glaring mistake for him in the first couple of games was not paying Morgan Parra and not paying Tronduc, and he's kept Parra this week, and he's left
Dropped Tronduc again to bring Michalak back again.
And I just can't understand it, because even against England, the change in the control that those two players gave them, two guys who are playing in actually the positions that they want to play and the positions that they're good at playing at, the control that they gave France against England was huge. And then when he took Tronduc off and he brought Michalak, who has no confidence at the moment, clearly, and you were telling me he's not happy with his fitness.
Yeah, definitely. Michalak, I read in the newspaper L'Equipe yesterday that he's not happy on his fitness. He's not think as good as he was in November. Then he clearly said that, and now he's get picked up as starting as number 10. And I can understand why Philippe select him.
But Shane, in the absence of Johnny Sexton, how much would we like a Michalak at out half?
We'd like a Michalak or a Ronan O'Gara or a
would you have picked Ronan O'Gara for this game?
Well, I think I certainly would have picked him for the last game. I think it would have. I think he would have seen us through. I've no doubt about that. I think it was too big of a ask to do that to Paddy Jackson, and I think that's how it played out as well.
But having done it, I mean, how could he have backtracked and put Ronan O'Gara back in for this game?
I think that's exactly what he should have done, because again, he's asking Jackson to fulfill the same role as a kicker, the same responsibilities that he did 2 weeks ago, and he's heaping even more pressure on him again today. Now, the fact that Ronan's off the squad probably relieves a little bit of the pressure from him, but I actually thought that it was unfair to ask the chap who hasn't been kicking for Ulster all season, who hasn't been kicking well at all, to put him into an international against France. It's a must-win game all of a sudden, and the French smell a bit of blood after a good
Would Ian
game
Madigan
against.
do a better job?
I would have gone for Ian Madigan myself. You know, I like the way Ian is playing. I've been an admirer of his for a couple of years. I've seen the way he's developed and he's evolved his game. I think it's very impressive. I think the other thing about Paddy Jackson is it's difficult for him because he's had a very controlling number 9 at Ulster and a very, very controlling, very important number 12 in Paddy Wallace at Ulster, and they have made a huge difference, taking a lot of the pressure off their game. And Paddy Wallace, you know, Paddy gets a lot of stick in Ireland, you know, he really does, but he has a huge role to play with Ulster, and you will notice that he takes a lot of the ball as first receiver for Ulster, and that's a role that Paddy Jackson doesn't have.
And of course Luke Marshall has very limited experience of European rugby even going into this, and Conor Murray is still a rookie scrum half to an extent as well.
And I think with Marshall, it's a very different role than he would play with than Paddy Jackson, Paddy Wallace plays, where Paddy is almost a second 5'8", whereas Marshall is a carrier. He's someone he's not just a crash ball merchant, but primarily he's a ball carrier.
A lot of people would say Ireland have been very unlucky with injuries this year, but has Declan Kidney made matters worse by his decisions?
I think they've been hugely unlucky, and that has been a sort of a positive for me, because missing, I think, 8-9 guys against Scotland that you would expect to be in your first team, and some of these guys are starting Lions you'd expect. They created enough chances to win that game. Now, there were certainly some of the decisions that Declan has made over the course of this Six Nations, and increasingly so towards the tail end of it, I think are making things more difficult for Ireland. But at the same time, you can say there was a lot of opportunities in that game against Scotland that, you know, Declan Kidney didn't have a hand in. You know, when there was 2-on-1s missed, there was balls dropped, there was, you know, although some great options created, but ultimately not taken.
We have a minute left, Serge.
I remember the Ireland team got 80% of the ball, and they didn't get any point from there, and it seems to be a lack of efficiency on the game plan. This is a point where I think even the injury, even the lack of the experience, at some point we need to see the efficiency of the coaching from Saint-André and from him.
Okay, I need to finish up. So a prediction, Serge, how much do you expect France to win by on Saturday?
Oh, that's a terrible question, isn't it?
I expecting, it depends on the weather, but I expecting France win for 2015.
You know what? I'm actually expecting a big backlash from Ireland. I think they're going to perform with incredible heart and courage. And the fact that Michalak has picked a 10, we've got a chance.
You think France will lose 4 matches in a row in the Six
But
Nations?
listen, I think that Ireland are going to perform tomorrow.
I hope Ireland do perform.
Oh, listen,
on
I hope they
Saturday.
perform on Saturday.
Shane Horgan, thank you very much for joining us. And
Pleasure.
it's been great as well, Serge
Thanks,
Betsen,
man.
to have you with us as well here for our Guinness Rugby conversation.
Keep up with The Last Word on todayfm.com, on Twitter and on Facebook.